مصاحبه اختصاصی سیمای آزادی با خانم لیندا چاوز.
به شما بینندگان عزیز سلام عرض می‌کنم. میهمان برنامه ما یکی از دوستان قدیمی مقاومت ایران هست، خانم لیندا چاوز، که شما با تصاویر ایشون و حمایت‌های ارزشمندشون از مقاومت ایران آشنایی بسیار دارید. خانم چاوز مدیر روابط عمومی کاخ سفید بوده و همچنین مواضع دیگری در دولت آمریکا داشته. در سال 1992 کمیسیون حقوق بشر ملل متحد خانم لیندا چاوز رو به عنوان کارشناس در کمیسیون ملل متحد برای جلوگیری از تبعیض و برای حفاظت از اقلیت‌ها برگزید و او رو در این رابطه گزارشگر ویژه ملل متحد نامگذاری کرد. خانم چاوز مهمان ما هستند. Hello and welcome to our show, Mrs. Chavez.
It's a pleasure.
ابتدا اجازه بدهید درباره سفر شما به اشرف 3 سوال کنم. میدانم این اولین بار است که به اشرف 3 سفر کردید. احساس شما درباره اشرف 3 و آنچه که تجربه کرده اید چیست؟
Well, first of all, it is an amazing place. I was in Tirana in 2018, and Ashraf 3 did not yet exist. And so when I learned that I was coming to Ashraf 3, I thought it would be very rudimentary, that you would be just in the beginning of the building process. And I came here and I was amazed. It is beautiful, it is inspiring, and it shows the commitment of your movement and your people to building a symbol of freedom that should be a beacon to the people of Iran.
برخی میگویند هیچ آلترناتیوی برای رژیم ایران وجود ندارد. برخی میگویند که انقلاب و ایده انقلاب برای یک کشور خطرناک است و هرج و مرج ایجاد می شود و نتیجه قطعی در بر ندارد. موضع شما درباره یک انقلاب در ایران چیست؟ شما آینده ایران را چطور می بینید؟
What do you see as a future for Iran?
If Iran is to join other nations of the world in offering its people a better life, then there has to be regime change. The revolution that came in 1979 to Iran, many people were hopeful at the time, yes, because it was the overthrow of the Shah. And the Shah had been an autocrat, a dictator. He had been cruel. He had tortured people, deprived them of freedom, and enriched himself and his cronies. But very quickly, the Iranian Revolution by the mullahs changed. And instead of offering freedom to the people, it offered more repression. It became even worse than the Shah. Even greater repression, where every individual's life, there was no being beyond the reach of the regime. But with the mullahs, no one can lead an ordinary life because the mullahs control every aspect of both public life and private life. What goes on outside the home, what goes on inside the home. The most basic roles of men and women. And it is not sustainable. It is not possible for a people to live under this kind of regime indefinitely. And more than half of the population of Iran now have grown up knowing nothing else but the mullahs. But even they have aspirations. And because of the world we live in, the technology, the reach of the internet, it is impossible to build walls so high that people do not know that there is another way. And so I believe that change is coming and that it is coming more quickly than the mullahs realize.
Okay. Here I have a list of 61.
این فهرستی است از نام‌های 61 شخصیت و سیاستمدار آمریکایی که توسط خبرگزاری رسمی رژیم ایران منتشر شده. در واقع این فهرستی از اسامی 61 شخصیت آمریکایی است که در فهرست به اصطلاح تروریستی رژیم ایران گنجانده شده و نام شما در بین آنها در ردیف شماره 20 است. موضع شما درباره این لیست گذاری چیست؟
Well, I will tell you, in my career, which is very long, I have received many honors. I've received honorary doctorate degrees. I was named by the Library of Congress as a living legend. I've been privileged to serve the President of the United States in the White House. Many, many honors. This honor, that the Iranian regime sees me as an enemy, is one of the greatest honors that I could imagine, because it means that my voice in speaking out against repression and the violence of the mullahs and what they do to the Iranian people is being heard, and it's being heard in Tehran, and it is something that they fear. They compiled this list of people in order to try to intimidate us, to make us fearful. I was at the 2018 conference in Paris, where the mullahs sent out their henchmen to try to bomb the event, to try to kill people, to have mass casualties. That did not stop the MEK. It did not stop your friends in the MEK. The friends of the MEK, people like myself, people like the various dignitaries who have come to the events. And so I will say that this certainly will have no impact. I shouldn't say it will have no impact. What it will do is it will make me be more firm in my commitment. It will make me feel that I must do more. Because if the mullahs are frightened that Americans are speaking out, that is a good thing. And I am proud to be on that list.
شما در بسیاری از گردهمایی‌های مقاومت ایران طی دهه اخیر شرکت کردید و حتی مدیریت برخی از آنها را هم به عهده داشتید. یاد دارم که یکی از آنها خیلی طولانی بود. آیا خاطره خاصی درباره این گردهمایی دارید؟ چرا مدیریت آنها را پذیرفتید؟
You know, I first became aware of the MEK quite a while ago, 30 years ago, in 1992. I was the U.S. expert serving at the United Nations Subcommission on Human Rights in Geneva. And I was approached by an MEK member who came to me with documents showing what was going on in Iran, the misogyny, the discrimination against women, against religious minorities, the tortures, the extrajudicial killings. And, you know, at first I thought, well, this was at the time, you know, when the word mujahideen was not necessarily a word that Americans would gravitate towards because they thought of, you know, the mujahideen in Afghanistan. And so I was suspicious at first, and then I started reading the material. And I said, but I believe in all of this. I agree with all of this. So when they came to me and they said, would you sponsor a resolution condemning the Iranian regime? I said, yes, I will do it. And so I and one of my colleagues, Claire Pally from Great Britain, agreed to co-sponsor the initiative. And that was my first dealings. So then fast forward many years, and I was approached and asked would I come to a conference, and it was being sponsored by the PMOI, and I said, oh, I know the PMOI. I remember them. And so I was very pleased to come. And it was very impressive to me how many friends the MEK has. From both sides of the political aisle in the United States, Republicans and Democrats. The thing I've learned spending many, many years in politics is that there are very few things you can get Democrats and Republicans to agree on. But supporting the MEK has been one of them. So it's been a privilege to be able to be a participant. I was very happy to be the host, the MC.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Linda Chavez. I served in the White House on the senior staff under President Ronald Reagan. It is a great honor and pleasure to be with you today. This is the second year that I have been at this gathering in Paris.
It was always amazing to me how many people there were. I mean, tens of thousands of people come to these events. They come from all over the world, from every continent in the world. And so it was a great pleasure, and I've been, as I say, very privileged to have been part of these events over the years.
Recently, there was news, I'm sure you're aware of, the deal that the Belgian government.
به تازگی معامله‌ای بین دولت بلژیک و رژیم ایران صورت گرفته تا اسدالله اسدی را آزاد کند. شما در گردهمایی پاریس در سال 1397 حضور داشتید و می توانستید یک هدف احتمالی آن بمبگذاری باشید. نظر شما درباره این معامله با رژیم ایران چیست؟
It's a disgrace. The bombs were already there. They were ready to be assembled and brought to the venue. If they had not been intercepted, as I say, it would have been mass casualties. Many, many people would have died. And so it was, from my point of view, it was very good, number one, that they caught them, and number two, that they got brought to justice, that they had a trial, that they were convicted, and then that they were sentenced, including the gentleman you speak of, who was in the diplomatic corps. And so I thought, this is wonderful. And then the next thing I hear, the Belgian government, the parliament, is deciding that they're going to make a deal, that they're going to release him to Iran for him to serve his sentence. And we know what will happen.
Yes.
If he goes back to Iran, he will be welcomed by the regime as a hero. The only thing they will be upset about is that he didn't succeed in blowing up and killing hundreds, if not thousands, of people. So I think it's really wrong. And I have been asked and have agreed to sign on to another legal action to try to prevent this from happening. And we are hopeful that that will succeed, because the courts in Belgium are independent. They have passed down a sentence, and that sentence must be served, and it must be served in Belgium, not in Iran.
You have first-hand experience about a woman.
شما تجربه دست اول در رابطه با شرکت یک زن در سیاست دارید. نظر شما درباره جایگاه زنان در رهبری مقاومت ایران چیست؟
In Iranian resistance, that they are leading this resistance. What is your opinion about that?
Well, I have always believed that women are equal to men, that women are able to do whatever they want to do to achieve, that they are capable of doing any job. And what has been very impressive about the resistance is the leadership of women in the resistance. That it's not just a figurehead. It's not just that there's one woman. When you visit Ashraf 3, you see that women are in roles throughout the Ashraf 3, that they are in important positions throughout the movement, that they play leadership roles, and that there is equality in terms of the treatment of women, in terms of the roles that they can play, and in terms of their contribution. And I think this is very important to me because I am a woman, I'm a mother, and yet being a mother did not stop me from being able to go on and have a life in politics and a career. And so I think that that is one of the things that the mullahs fear most. Because at heart, the mullahs are misogynistic.
Yes.
They hate women. They do not honor them. You know, they talk about how they want to protect modesty, how they have all these rules for how women may dress and how they behave and what they may do, and they act as if they're protecting women. They are not protecting women. They are people who are afraid of women. They are afraid of the strength that women have, and I think that is one of the reasons that they are so fearful of Madam Mariam Rajavi, is that she is a woman.
حرف و توصیه شما برای نسل آینده به خصوص زنان و دختران جوان چیست؟
Well, I think it's important for the next generation to realize that they need to serve. They need to serve a cause. You know, we think of the young generation, particularly in the West, in countries like my own in the United States. People are very self-absorbed. They think only about what things give them pleasure, how they're going to spend the next 15 minutes. They don't think about the future. And I think what's very inspiring about all of the people here, but particularly the young people I've met, the young women that I've met here, is that very early on they realized that they had something to contribute and that they were not just looking out for themselves or even just for their families, that they were part of something bigger, and that in order to fulfill that role, that they would join a movement and join with like-minded people. And that together, it's not just the sum of 1 and 1 equals 2, but when you begin to put people together, the sum is greater than the actual individual parts. And I think that is the advice that I would give. Realize that you cannot do it on your own, that it is important to be bigger than something that is totally just about yourself.
As the last question or demand,
به عنوان آخرین درخواست می‌خواستم پیامی بدهید. پیام شما برای مردم و جوانان ایران چیست؟ به طور خاص برای دختران و زنان جوان ایرانی که در یک دیکتاتوری سرکوبگر زندگی می‌کنند.
My message is that even though you live in a country that denies freedom, that takes away your right to believe what you want to believe, to do what you want to do, to worship as you choose, your right to be free, that there are many, many more of you than there are people in the regime. And that no matter how brutal they are, no matter how repressive they are, no matter what their methods are, that if you join with others and you fight this kind of repression, that ultimately you will win. Because the regime can kill individuals, but what the regime cannot do is kill an idea. It cannot kill the aspiration for freedom, the aspiration for democracy. And if you join with others who believe as you do, this regime will fall.
بسیار متشکرم از زمانی که در اختیار برنامه ما گذاشتید و سپاسگزارم از همه تلاش‌هایی که برای حمایت از مقاومت ایران انجام می‌دهید.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.